The story you're about to hear is a compilation of tales showcasing different cultures or beliefs that is unique from our perspective. Please sit back and enjoy the tales I am about to tell you. According to Algonquin legends, the Wendigo haunts the northern forests of the United States and Canada, always looking for people to eat. As the tale goes, the Wendigo was once a lost hunter. During a brutally cold winter, this man's intense hunger drove him to cannibalism. After feasting on another human's flesh, he transformed into a crazed man-beast, roaming the forest in search of more people to eat. In another version of the story, the first Wendigo is said to have been a warrior who made a deal with the devil. In order to save his tribe, he gave up his soul and was transformed into a Wendigo. And when peace finally reigned, there was no need for such a fearsome creature, and the warrior was banished from his tribe and forced to live as an outcast. Roughly translated, the word Wendigo means the evil spirit that devours mankind. Another translation, said to be made by a German explorer around 1860, equates the word Wendigo with cannibal. Wendigo are said to have an insatiable hunger for human flesh. No matter how much flesh they eat, they remain hungry. This hunger is reflected in their appearance, which according to some is extremely thin. Some people who have claimed to encounter the beast say it's a relative of Bigfoot, but other reports compare the Wendigo to a werewolf instead. Since the Wendigo is said to be a cold weather creature, most sightings have been reported in Canada, as well as colder northern states in the US like Minnesota. At the turn of the 20th century, the Algonquin tribes blamed many unsolved disappearances of people on Wendigo attacks, thus calling him Spirit of Lonely Places. Another rough translation of Wendigo is the evil spirit that devours mankind. This translation is related to yet another version of the Wendigo that has the power to curse humans by possessing them. Despite their gaunt physiques, Wendigo are described by some as giants, measuring at about 14.8 to 15 feet in height. While there are slight variations as to the physical description of this creature, it is generally agreed that Wendigo have glowing eyes, long yellowed fangs, and long tongues. Most Wendigo are also said to have sallow and yellowish skin, though others say that they are matted with hair or have decaying skin. According to ethnohistorian Nathan Carlson, it's also been said that the Wendigo has large sharp claws and massive eyes like an owl. However, some other people simply describe the Wendigo as a skeleton-like figure with ash-toned skin. Different versions of the Wendigo legend say different things about his speed and agility. Some claim he is unusually fast and can endure walking for long periods of time, even in harsh winter conditions. Others say he walks in a more haggard manner, as if he is falling apart. But speed wouldn't be a necessary skill for a monster of this nature. Unlike other terrifying carnivores, the Wendigo doesn't rely on pursuing his prey in order to capture and eat it. Rather, one of his creepiest traits is his ability to mimic human voices. He uses this skill to lure people in and draw them away from civilization. Once they're isolated in the desolate depths of the wilderness, he attacks them and then feasts on them. Once it has infiltrated human minds, he can turn them into Wendigo as well, instilling upon them the same lust for human flesh that he himself has. A few legends state that the frozen person is successfully rescued from inside the creature. In most cases, however, death is the only way to free a person from the Wendigo. One of the most infamous cases is the story of Swift Runner, a trader with the Hudson's Bay Company who was married and the father of 6 children. In 1875, he served as a guide for the Northwest Mounted Police. During the winter of 1878 to 1879, Swift Runner and his family were starving, along with numerous other Kree families. His eldest son was the first to die of starvation, and at some point, Swift Runner succumbed to Wendigo psychosis. Though emergency food supplies were available at Hudson's Bay Company post some 25 miles away, he did not attempt to travel there. Rather, he killed the remaining members of his family and consumed them. He eventually confessed and was hanged by authorities at Fort Saskatchewan. A Wendigo allegedly made a number of appearances near a town called Roseso in northern Minnesota from the late 1800s through the 1920s. Each time that it was reported, an unexpected death followed, and finally, it was seen no more. Another well-known case involving Wendigo psychosis was that of Jack Fiddler, a member of the Kree tribe of northwestern Ontario. Fiddler claimed to have defeated 14 Wendigos during his lifetime. Some of these creatures were said to have been sent by enemy shamans, and others were members of his own band, who had been taken with the insatiable, incurable desire to eat human flesh. In the latter case, Fiddler was usually asked by family members to kill a very sick loved one before they turned into a Wendigo. Fiddler's own brother, Peter Flett, was killed after turning Wendigo when the food ran out on a trading expedition. Hudson's Bay Company traders, the Kree, and the missionaries were well aware of the Wendigo legend, though they often explained it as mental illness or superstition. Regardless, several incidents of people turning into Wendigo and eating human flesh are documented in the records of the company. In 1907, Fiddler and his brother Joseph were arrested by the Canadian authorities for murder. Jack committed suicide, but Joseph was tried and sentenced to life in prison. He ultimately was granted a pardon but died 3 days later in jail before receiving the news of this pardon. The Fiddler killings lent credibility to the notion that Wendigos were real, but they also point to a myth evolving from the eradication of physical or mental illness. The murder and quarantine disposal of Wendigo bodies may have stopped the spread of disease or silenced the mentally ill. Among the Assiniboine, the Kree, and the Ojibwe, a satirical ceremonial dance is sometimes performed during times of famine to reinforce the seriousness of the Wendigo taboo. The frequency of Wendigo psychosis cases decreased sharply in the 20th century as the Native Americans came into greater and greater contact with Western ideologies. However, Wendigo creature sightings are still reported, especially in northern Ontario, near the Cave of the Wendigo and around the town of Kenora, where it has allegedly been spotted by traders, trackers, and trappers for decades. There are many who still believe that the Wendigo roams the wood and the prairies of northern Minnesota and Canada. Kenora, Ontario, Canada, has been given the title of Wendigo Capital of the World by many. Sightings of the creature in this area have continued well into the new millennium. Some believe that the human personality continues to reside within the Wendigo, specifically where its heart should be. This person is frozen, and the only way to kill a Wendigo is to kill the human within it as well. According to legend, it is nearly impossible to escape a Wendigo. Hunters by nature, Wendigos are extremely fast and allow nothing to get in the way of their never-ending hunger. Even if you could escape physical damage, which is unlikely, the very fact that you'd encountered an otherworldly Wendigo would leave you mentally vacant. Wendigos hibernate for months or years, but woe betide when they awaken. Wendigos can stealthily stalk victims for extended periods, thanks to supernatural speed, endurance, and heightened senses, such as hearing so profound they can pick up on panicked heartbeats from miles away. Once the chase begins, Wendigos engage in a torturous game. They bait their prey, release shrieks or growls, and sometimes mimic human voices calling for help. When the hunt begins in earnest, a Wendigo becomes all business. It will race after its prey, upending trees, creating animal stampedes, and stirring up ice storms and tornadoes. Don't be fooled into believing you're safe indoors. The Wendigo can unlock doors and enter homes where it will kill and eat the inhabitants before converting the cabins into Wendigo domiciles for hibernation. Can you shoot a Wendigo? Not easily. A wounded Wendigo simply regenerates. The trick is to employ silver bullets or a pure silver blade or stake and strike right through the Wendigo's ice-cold heart. Upon wounding the Wendigo's heart, you must take care to shatter it into pieces, then lock the shattered heart in a silver box and bury it in a church cemetery. Not want to seek a simple end, the rest of the Wendigo must be dismembered with a silver-plated axe so you can salt and burn the body, and then scatter its ashes to the winds. Or as a second option, bury the pieces in a remote location. Skip a step, and the Wendigo may be able to resurrect itself, hunt you down, and inflict a slow and agonizing death. Hey everyone! I just wanted to express how grateful I am that you took the time to listen to my narration. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I am Twisted Mind, and please enjoy the rest of your day. Salamat!